Hey boaters, I'm Jim from Raymarine. It's Thursday night, and this is Raymarine Live. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me tonight. I have some interesting news to share with you, some cool tips to get you ready for the boating season. I know it's been a while since we've done one of these, so I thank you all for tuning in and sharing the news about our streams with your family and friends and other boaters around as well. If you can get the word out about what we're doing here, if you enjoy it, please let other people know so they can join us too. Looks like we're going to have a pretty good crowd tonight. We've got a lot of people out there. The early bird award goes to Paul Cormier. We saw your test message. You were the first one on tonight, so congratulations. So with that, let me just go through a couple of little news items and we'll get started. So our topic tonight is going to be getting ready for boating season. You may have seen in our email, we're going to talk a little bit about transducers. We're going to talk about waypoint management, doing some updates to units. Of course, we're going to squeeze in a lot of your questions as well, because that's really what makes this show work. One little news item I want to mention is that we do have a promotion going on here in the United States through July 9th. You can save up to $2,500 on Raymarine system purchases. You can find all the details on it on Raymarine.com. It's called our Full Throttle Sales Event. So definitely check that out if you are in the market for anything. If you're looking to add accessories to your system, you can save yourself a little bit of money. Raymarine.com is where you'll find the details on that. I also want to share a little bit of product news. I don't think we have covered this here on Raymarine Live before, and you may have seen reference to it on Raymarine.com. But in the time since we last met, I received a forward-looking sonar system that I want to show you. So Mr. Producer Man, if you want to pop up Axiom for me. Raymarine has a technical partnership with a company called EcoPilot, and they make a sonar system called an FLS 3D forward-looking sonar. And that's an interesting view. And the FLS 3D actually can integrate with Raymarine Axiom right on our network. So I have one here in the studio, and let me just kind of bring it up and show you what it looks like and how it works. So to do this, I actually need to just switch profiles. I have some simulated data here, and I have some live data. EcoPilot's part of my live data. All right. So here is the Axiom home screen. This, if it looks unfamiliar to you, this is the new Lighthouse 4 mode-based icons is what I'm running. But over here, this is our EcoPilot app. And when I bring it up, you can see this is their forward-looking sonar, and I can manipulate it with my mouse or with my finger. It's touchscreen controlled, but I'm doing it with a mouse for all of you. I have some basic controls here to zoom in, zoom out. I can adjust settings of the sonar. So if forward-looking sonar is something that you are interested in, this product works quite nicely with Raymarine Axiom. It actually plugs in through the Raynet high-speed network. So it is an Ethernet connection, and then it pops up as an app. And using that app, you can program it anywhere you like on your tiles. So I had it running full screen. I could also show it in a split screen next to my chart, or next to my radar, whatever I would like to show it in that split screen configuration. So very, very easy to set it up. You just plug it in, turn it on, and it's off and running. So if you want more information about that, we do have a write-up on Raymarine.com. We get some details there, or you can pop on over to ecopilot.com, and it's the FLS 3D sonar. Another thing I wanted to show you real quick as we're getting started. A lot of people ask me about this after the show is over, but they ask actually how I am controlling Axiom with this Bluetooth mouse. So there's actually nothing super special to this, but I find it very, very handy for times when I want to control an Axiom and I'm not close to it, not within arm's reach, right? In this case, the Axiom is facing away from me. I can't even see it. But maybe on your boat, you have an Axiom at your nav table or, mounted above your helm, and you want another way to control it. A Bluetooth mouse is an option. You can also use a keyboard on our system. So if we can bring the Axiom display back up for a second, I'm just going to show you how to link up a mouse or a keyboard or any Bluetooth device with Axiom. So here on the home screen, on the top right-hand corner up here where the clock is, just give a click or a touch on the clock and you'll see this menu here for Bluetooth settings. And this gets you into the Bluetooth controls. And kind of similar to a smartphone or a tablet, Axiom will scan for nearby Bluetooth devices. So in this case, it has found this BT 5.1 mouse that it is connected to. If I wanted to pair something different, maybe a keyboard, maybe a different mouse, you could just hit the pair new device. Axiom will scan. When you find your device, just click on it. And within a few seconds, it'll connect and you'll be able to use it. When you're done, just come down here to the dot in the center and that'll X you out. When a mouse is connected, you'll see you actually get a pointer that I have moving around on the screen here. And the buttons on the mouse basically work just like your finger does on the touch screen. So anything you can touch with your finger, you can control with the mouse. It supports both a short press and a long press to open menus and things like that. So if you're looking for an alternative way to control your Axiom, it's a very easy and inexpensive way to do it as well. It doesn't require any particular Bluetooth mouse or keyboard. I literally bought this mouse at the Walmart that's down the street from the office for like $6 and it works great. So little tip you can use to control your Axiom. All right, so our first topic for tonight, I wanted to touch briefly on preseason transducer maintenance. A real common question we get this time of year is, what can I paint my transducer with to prevent it from getting fouled up? Obviously, there's boats going back in the water. If you keep your boat in salt water, you know that the growth starts on your hull, your props, your transducers almost immediately. So there are some products out there in the market, and my friends at Defender were kind enough to send me some samples. And here's what I got for you. So actually, let's bring up the detail cam. We can come up nice and close on these. So there's 3 major manufacturers of transducer-specific anti-fouling paint. So I have samples of all 3 of them here. This one is from Pettit. So obviously, if you've ever painted your boat, you've probably heard of them before. This one is from MDR. It comes in a little brush-on bottle where the Pettit is actually a spray can. And then probably the newest one on the scene is this guy. This is PropSpeed Foul Free. This is produced actually in conjunction with Airmar Technology, who makes a lot of the transducers that are used with instruments and high power sonar. So these are the 3 products you'll find out there in your favorite marine store. I will say that these transducer paints are different from the regular anti-fouling paint you use on your hull and your rudder and your props and that sort of thing. These are free from a chemical called ketone. Ketone is a industrial solvent. And when the ketone gets onto particularly the rubber parts of the transducer, over time it degrades the rubber. It'll cause it to crack and eventually leak. So these types of transducer paints are formulated to not have those chemicals in them that attack the plastics. So that's why we do encourage you to use transducer-specific anti-fouling paint. They all work pretty well. These 2, the Pettit and the MDR, have been out there for quite a long time, and they are fully certified to use on all of your transducers. The PropSpeed, you can use that on all of your Airmar transducers. Our QA team is actually still doing some final testing on using PropSpeed on like our Real Vision transducers and our CPTS transducers. Don't expect that there's going to be any problems there, but they officially haven't finished the testing. So bear that in mind when you're shopping and figuring out what transducers you're going to paint. So with that, I brought a few transducers in, and I want to give you a few tips on how to best coat them. So I'm going to start with this guy. This is actually an RV 200 bronze through hull transducer from a Real Vision 3D system. But it is representative of a lot of different bronze through hull transducers. So I mentioned the sensitive part on a transducer that doesn't always play nice with anti-fouling paint or just common anti-fouling paint is the rubber transducer window. So it's this black surface. And what this is it's actually what we call an acoustic window. This is what allows the sound energy to get out of the transducer and into the water, and then the echoes returning to get back into the ceramic elements inside. So this rubber is soft. It is designed to allow sound to pass through it. So we do want to protect it and not damage it with any harsh chemicals. So to anti-foul this, you will use your Petit or your MDR paint. In this case, since this is a Raymarine transducer, and you can actually cover the entire surface of this. You can cover the acoustic window. You can cover the temperature sensor. This is actually just an anti-rotation bolt cover, but I would paint that. Paint any of the bronze that is exposed. Basically, anywhere that marine growth is going to be able to attach to this thing, cover it with that anti-fouling paint. Again, the Petit is a spray-on product. The MDR is a brush-on, so you can use whichever you prefer. And obviously wear the proper safety gear when you do that too, so you're not getting it all over yourself and in your eyes and in your lungs and everything else. So for through-hull transducers, basically you're going to paint everything. Just cover it over. I have another transducer. You can just stay in this view, Mr. Producer. This is a smaller through-hull depth transducer. This is actually, I think, a CPTS by Raymarine. So again, use either the Petit or the MDR paint on this particular one. But again, rubber window in the center. That is actually the temperature probe, but you can paint the temperature probe as well. And I would paint the entire black surround part of the through-hull fitting with that. And that'll keep any growth from starting on this transducer. I'm going to switch for a second and talk about a through-hull, or sorry, not a through-hull, but a transamount transducer. So I brought another one in. This is an RVM 100, one of the new Real Vision Max transamount transducers, but it's representative of just about any transamount out there. And basically the same thing applies here, even on a transamount transducer, because it's in contact with the salt water. Barnacles and everything else living in the ocean is going to try to attach itself to this right away. So basically any part of this transducer that is in the water or submerged, feel free to go ahead and paint it. So the acoustic window, temperature probe, you could even paint the backside of the bracket in the carrier for this to keep the growth off of it. The portion of the cable that is under the water could also be painted to keep it free of growth. We got one more for you, and this is probably the most complex of all of them. So if you are a sailor and you have a through-hull paddle wheel speed or even a power boater with one of these, you may recognize this type of setup. This particular one is a shorty transducer that's used with like an I-40 series instrument, but there are longer versions that get used with I-50s, I-70s, the DST smart transducers might have a similar setup to this. So this is actually the probe that pulls out of the center of the transducer, and it's got a paddle wheel up here in the end of it. And if I get a little closer to the camera, I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it or not. But this is basically all the portion of the transducer that goes down through the center of the through-hull housing and then protrudes into the water. So with these transducers, you basically want to cover all parts of it that would be exposed to the water. Let that focus again. So here's the speed, in this case, the speed paddle wheel inserted into the through hull. So you're going to paint the entire through hull fitting. You're going to paint the carrier on either side of the paddle wheel. You can also paint the paddle wheel itself. So when you do that, you want to be a little bit careful because you don't want to get the paint onto the spindle that would glue the paddle wheel in position. But a good time to do this is actually when you're doing like a service on the paddle wheel. So since these are retractable transducers, we can pop them out of the through hull housing. And this is where inside your boat, you'd put your blanking plug in to stop the water from coming in. The little valve will close in here to slow it down, but then put your blanking plug in. And now you have the speed probe in your hand. These are actually serviceable. You can pop the spindle out. You can use like a punch or like a pin push, and you can push the spindle out, and the paddle wheel will drop into your hand. And that's a great time to paint the paddle wheel, is when it's detached from the transducer. Let the paint dry, and then you can reassemble it. And that'll ensure that you don't accidentally glue the paddle wheel in position. You can basically paint all portions of the paddle wheel through hull basically up to just shy of the O-ring, because all of that is in contact with the water. If you don't paint the inside parts of it, it can get stuck inside the housing from the growth. Similarly, before you install this in the boat in the first place, or if you are hauled out and the boat is high and dry, when you're doing your painting of the face of this, you can go basically up to about an inch inside of the bore of the through hull as well. So you can kind of feel it. If you stick your finger in there, you'll feel a ridge. You can paint with the transducer paint all the way up to the ridge, and that'll help to prevent that through hull from getting stuck in the housing. There are retractable depth transducers as well. I don't have one here tonight, but it's the same setup. But instead of a paddle wheel, it just has the rubber acoustic window for a depth transducer, but it is retractable. All the same rules apply. Paint the face, paint the bore of the housing, paint all of the exposed flange to keep the growth off the transducers. So it's definitely a good way to start the season. You'll find you'll have to clean them less. If you're into sailing, particularly high performance sailing, we know getting an accurate speed through the water reading is super important. So keeping growth off your paddle wheel sensor is very important. So that little preseason paint job on the transducer will go a long way. If you're a fisherman as well, all the growth on a transducer is going to inhibit the sensitivity of it. So, keeping the crud off the transducer is going to make your fish finder work better as well. So with that, let's pause for a second. Let's see what we got for questions in the queue. Hopefully, Mr. Producer Man's been keeping an eye on them. And if you got something good, go ahead and fire it at me. From David, how do you change the color from black to other colors like pink and keep it during an auto route? Okay. So I think what you're talking about is changing the color of your route lines, or maybe your track lines, but probably your route lines here. So let me do this. We can bring the Axiom back up. And I am going to go into the chart mode on Axiom. Give it a moment here to pop up. And we'll zoom in. And I have some waypoints and routes actually already pre-plotted in here for tonight. So let's see. Just for the purposes of a little better presentation, let me change to the chart that goes with this area. All right. So we're looking at a lighthouse chart. This is actually of the Mediterranean. But here's a route that I pre-plotted a little bit earlier. So this is using a black track line. If I come into my menu, I go to my waypoints, routes, and tracks. And in this case, I'm going to go into routes. And I believe this is route number 3 that I am looking at. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select it. Route 3, there you are. And why are you hiding the color selector from me? Am I in the wrong place? Don't think so. All right, let me look somewhere else. You may have stumped me. Went down the wrong path. I'm going to start over here in the tracks menu because I know we can do this in the tracks for sure. So I have a track running behind the boat. The track plotter is dropping breadcrumbs behind me wherever the boat went off to. Anyway, right now there's 103 track points recorded. This is the current track. I am going to stop it for a moment. I will save it. And here I can change its color because it is not active. I can go in and do edits to it. So I can make the track a different color. I have red, green, yellow, purple, orange, black, all that sort of stuff. So you can pick your color in here. So just for the sake of changing it, we'll make it yellow. So now this track line should be yellow. I'm going to restart it. And I'm going to exit out of here so that hopefully you'll be able to see this out on the chart. And then we're going to take a look at the route line again. Where'd my boat go? Come back, come back. Oop, there's my track line. And it is yellow. Where's my boat? There's my boat. There you go. And you can see the track line streaming out behind it. In this case is yellow. It's also very thin, and we can adjust the thickness of the track line. And just to show you where you can do that, we go to the menu, and this is kind of considered an advanced feature. So we go to settings and then advanced. And as we scroll down here, down towards the bottom, we can customize the appearance of some of our data. So for a track width, right now it is in thin mode. I'm going to put it into wide mode, and you can see that yellow line got significantly easier to see. I can do the same for the route line, normal, thin, or wide. I can do the same for vectors. Vectors are the little arrows that we can project off the front of the boat. Let's go back and take a look at the routes one more time, because we should be able to change the colors of those. And I think I know what I was missing when I was looking at those a second ago. So I'm going to go back into my menu to waypoints, routes, and tracks. Let's go into the route directory again. And this time I'm going to look at route number 2, which is out here in a different location. And I can show it or hide it. I can view the route plan. Okay. Here we go. Route options. And here I can change the color. So let's make, actually blue's not good because that chart's got a lot of blue. We'll make it orange. So you can see on the little chartlet here, it has updated this route. This is kind of an out and back route that runs through this little harbor, but it made it orange. So we did this in the route details. So just to show you how I got in here again, and I apologize, I was a little confused on this one. This is a good question. So out from the chart, I open the menu. I go to waypoints, routes, and tracks. And in this case, I go to routes. I'm going to select one and view its route plan. So this gives me all the details and all the waypoints. And over here, I have some options related to the route, and that's where the color is. So right now it's in orange, and then you can pick whatever color you like from the list. All right, so hopefully that answers your question. And if not, certainly feel free to drop another comment in there. And just while we're taking questions, I want to remind everyone that obviously in our time period tonight, I can't answer every single question you guys drop in there, but my goal is to get an answer to everyone. So if you drop a question in, I will be looking at them tomorrow and in the days after that, and I will try to get an answer back to everyone. So feel free to drop those questions in there. If you are not watching this live, but you're watching the recording over the weekend, drop your questions in too, because I actually get all of the questions from all of the Raymarine lives we have ever done forwarded to me. So even if you're watching an old episode, if you're watching this 10 years from now, drop a question in there and we'll get you an answer to your question. What else have you got for me? From David, I have an Axiom on the flybridge. It can get very hot. Do I need to worry about overheating? Actually, you don't. So Axiom has very, very good heat management in it. Because they are black, because they are glass and flat, they do absorb quite a lot of sunlight. So the sun will heat these things up. But as far as overheating or cooking the electronics inside, they have a pretty robust thermal management system in them. They also have a very, very large heat sink on the back. I can't flip this Axiom around, but if you've ever looked at the back of any Axiom, you'll see the back of it is all cast out of aluminum, and it has fins all up and down the back side of it, and that is to dissipate heat. So you don't have to worry about overheating it. Now, I have seen instances where the Axiom itself, just from baking in the sun, is so hot that it hurts to touch it with your fingers. So do be careful for your fingers, but don't worry too much about Axiom. It'll be fine. And let's see, we got time for one more here, and we'll change topics. From Tom, how many continuous hours can I run my Axiom XL24s? I'm thinking anchor drag at night after running during the day. There's really no limit to how long you can run them. You can leave them on 24/7, 365 if you want to. It is not going to hurt them. Just as an example, the Axiom that's here on my bench in our studio, I leave it going all the time. I have a simulator connected to it, so it thinks it's out there in the real world driving around. So in between the Raymarine lives, I do a lot of software testing with this, and I just let it run and run and run and run for days, if not weeks at a time. So feel free to run it however long you feel is right for you, Tom. It's not going to hurt the system at all. And that anchor drag is actually a kind of cool function on here. In fact, since you mentioned anchor drag, let's show it to you real quick. You could bring the Axiom back up again for me. I'm going to exit out of my data menu here. And let's say, for example, we were going into to anchor for the night. We have an anchoring mode built into Axiom. And a lot of people ask about this, so I might as well just briefly touch on it. If you go into the menu, when you're in chart plotter mode, you can see the chart has different modes of operation. You've got navigation, fishing, tides, racing mode is kind of a sailing thing. You have this one here called anchoring mode. So when you go into anchoring mode and say start the anchoring process, we have this anchoring wizard that pops up, and basically it will kind of step you through the process of choosing the spot to anchor. It will help you calculate how much chain you should put out based on the depth of the water. That's what it's actually doing here. This is the live feed from my simulated depth sounder. It thinks I'm in 430 feet of water. So at 4 times the depth of the water, it says I should be putting out 1,600 feet of chain. Apologies, but the boat just happened to be out in mid-ocean when we started this. But when I would get to my anchoring spot, basically I go ahead, pull up, drop anchor, and I'm going to hit the button to mark the anchor position. I'm going to pay out all of the chain that it suggests. And when I have all my chain out, I say, all right, my chain is out. It allows me to make some final adjustments. If I want to put out some more chain or some more rope and make my rode longer or shorter, I can do that. And when I am ready, I hit activate. And what it actually plots for me is the position my anchor was dropped at. It shows me my swing circle and my drag circle in real time. And it will plot a track of the boat in the anchorage. So you can see the motions of the boat over time. You can see it shift with swing with the wind and the tide. And if the anchor starts to drag, if the boat violates the drag limit, you will get audible and visual alarms on the system. So it is something that's pretty cool. I highly recommend playing with it a couple times before you go to sleep for the night. You know, go out in the afternoon, try it out, kind of learn the features and how it works, and then use it for real. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was chart updates. So as you are getting ready for the boating season, I realize some of you are boating year round, so you probably update your charts all the time. But many of you might be in my neck of the woods up in the Northeast. You had your boat tucked away all winter in storage. So as you're getting ready to launch for the season, it is a great idea to update your navigation charts. It's fairly easy to do. It's supported by most of the major chart vendors. I'm going to talk a little bit about doing it on Navionics because that's probably what most of you have. And I'm going to show you how you can do it with Lighthouse charts as well, because I know a lot of you have those. If you have CMAP, if you have other brands of charts that work on Axiom, you can check with those vendors on what the best way is to update them, but they almost all have a way to do it. So first, I'm going to talk just a little bit about Navionics. And there's 2 ways that you can update a Navionics chart. You can do it using a computer, or you can do it using the Navionics app. So let me start the process with the computer. In order to do that, I need to actually log this back in again. Give me 1 second here. Of course, it went to sleep on me. Please log in. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your web browser and you are going to go to navionics.com. And I am going to show this to you by sharing my screen. All right, you're going to see yourselves in this for a second. All right, so here is navionics.com. So this is their main homepage. To start the process of updating your chart, you're going to actually go to navionics.com and then right up here, my card, and you're going to say activate/update. And that's going to take you to their main update page. And if you scroll down a little bit, they ask you, is this your first time here or have you been here before? If it's your first time here, they're going to have you download a little app. Ooh, look at that. That's exciting. That is the anchor drag alarm from the anchor drag that I just set. Let me cancel that. All right, so back to Navionics. If it's your first time here, they're going to have you download a little app onto your PC called the Navionics Chart Updater. If you already have it, you can hit the button and launch it. It is going to pop up on your screen. It always checks to see if it is the latest version that you have installed every time it runs. And then from there, what you're going to do is basically take your Navionics card, plug it into your PC, and you might need to use a USB card reader. Some computers might just have a card slot that you can plug it into. But the app will then scan your chart, and it will tell you if you need updates, and then you'll have a button to just press and download them, and then you'll be off and running. Now, the other way you can update Navionics charts is with their mobile app. And let's show you how to do that. So we're going to go back to the Axiom view, Mr. Producer Man, if you can. And bear with me one moment here. I need to change Axiom into its simulator mode. This is only because my Navionics charts are in the United States and my simulator is running somewhere else. So what I'm going to bring up here first is my chart app. And let me come over here. So I have a Navionics Plus chart for the USA and Canada installed in this Axiom. And what I want you to notice first is in this presentation, part of the chart is grayed out and the other part of the chart is transparent white. And when you see that, what it is actually signaling to you, if you're going to update with the Navionics app, the areas in white are areas that have been updated. The areas that are in gray have not yet been updated. So the way that this works is we use the Wi-Fi connection in Axiom, and we're going to link either your smartphone or your tablet up to the Axiom display using its Wi-Fi connection. So I have here my iPad. Let me get this in a position where you guys can probably see it a little bit better. So this is running the Navionics mobile app. And actually, let me begin by doing this. I'm actually going to close the app altogether so that you can see it log in for the first time. So here's my iPad. Here's the Navionics app. I go ahead and launch it. The app pops up, and you can see I have a similar overlay in the charts here as I have on the Axiom itself. I have areas in white where I have current chart data, and then areas in gray where the data has not been updated yet. So when the Navionics app starts and it connects to Axiom and detects it on the network, that's what that pop-up is right there. You can see that it is starting the process of synchronizing data. So what it is actually doing is it is transferring waypoints and routes back and forth. And it is also now updating the charts. You can see that on the bottom. That's what that little slider is. And maybe I can get a little bit closer just so you can read it. Okay, and it actually finished already. It's pretty fast. So it says charts have been updated. So go ahead and use your plotter card. But this pop-up is the synchronization, and the synchronization does waypoints, routes, tracks, and it updates your charts, which is pretty cool. Just for reference, I did a brief update before the show started tonight. It required me to download about 700 megabytes worth of chart information. This card was new and had never been updated. And it did that in about The download took maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It was very, very fast over Wi-Fi. And then it took it maybe another 3 or 4 minutes to transfer it over Wi-Fi to my Axiom. And it updated the chart. I never had to take the chart out of the Axiom to do this. So it's a very convenient way to update Navionics charts. Now, there is one catch to it. The app is a paid app, so you do have to be on a paid subscription. And the chart that's in your Axiom also has to be on a Navionics Freshest Data subscription. So you do have to have a subscription here and a subscription on your chart card for all of this stuff to work. But it does work very, very well. Pretty easy to do. So I'm going to pop back over onto my PC for a moment, and I want to show you how to update a lighthouse chart. So we could switch sources back to, yeah, there we go. All right. So lighthouse charts are Raymarine's vector navigation charts. We have them for a pretty wide range of areas now, USA, Canada, a lot of Europe, more areas coming online as well. So updates for lighthouse charts are primarily done through our online chart store, which you can find at chartstore.raymarine.com. When you connect up, this is kind of what it looks like. You will log in, and there is a menu here called My Charts. And when you click on My Charts, it'll show you all of the charts that you own that are registered to your account. As you can see, I have a lot of different charts here. But let me just point out a couple of features of our chart manager. So as you're scrolling your list of charts, it will tell you if an update has been issued since the last time you visited. So in this case, I have a lighthouse regional chart for North America. There are updates available for it because the last time that I did anything to it was last June, last summer. So this is the chart that I use on my own boat. I need to actually bring it in and update it. For any of your charts, there are some options when it comes to updates. So with lighthouse charts for the first year after you purchase one, they come with free updates and access to our premium points of interest, street data, aerial photos, premium maritime POI providers. And you can actually choose what areas you want to download onto your chart. So you don't have to take everything out there. You can just pick and choose smaller areas if you want to. To actually update your chart, similar to Navionics, you're going to put it into a card reader. I have a little USB card reader here with my lighthouse chart plugged into it. So there's my little micro SD card. I'm going to plug it into my USB card reader. I'm going to plug it into my PC. And just to show you how we would begin the process of kicking this off, back onto the PC here in the chart store at raymarine.com. If I want to update data for my, in this case, my North America regional chart, I'm just going to pop the computer back up for a second. Oop. There we go. So this is my chart that needs an update. I am going to say to go ahead and download it. It's going to ask me to validate one file that is on the chart card. It's called a Lighthouse ID file. So I just hit the browse button. I point the computer to where that card is plugged in. So this is my Lighthouse 2023 card. And I find this file called Lighthouse ID. And I just say continue. And now what it does is it begins the process of building out the chart file for me with the customized points of interest, satellite photo overlay, streets, all that sort of stuff. And when it finishes, if you leave this screen up, it'll just download it automatically to your computer. If you want to walk away from it and come back later, you can click the link here and have it email you when the file's ready to be downloaded. So you'll get a download from the system, and then you're just going to drag it onto your SD card and then pop it into the Axiom, and you're ready to go. It is possible to update Lighthouse charts over mobile. I don't recommend doing it in North America. So if you're a European viewer, you can actually do it with the Raymarine app over mobile. Here in North America, the chart data we have available to us is very vast. So it makes the file sizes very large. And I just don't recommend doing it over mobile because you're going to be pulling down a pretty big file. So I would do the chart updates in North America at home, transfer them to the card. But if you're in Europe, the file sizes are actually a lot smaller just because the landmass there is smaller. So keep that in mind. So you can see the system is going to send me an email when this is ready to download. And it takes sometimes 20 minutes for it to package up the data. And then the download begins. And then you'll be off and running. One other thing I just want to show you in the My Charts tab here on the store. So we do have some indicators now that show the last time the data set was updated for whatever chart you have. And I have a whole mishmash of different new and old charts in here. But it does tell you the last day, the last time you came back to the site and performed an update. That's what that chart package date is. The last time you visited and updated your charts, so you can see how long it's been. So I do encourage you to get on there and update your charts. So let's pause there for a moment and take a look at some more questions. Bluefin, can you only mirrorcast to AirPlay or Chromecast? Any plans to make it compatible with Roku or Fire Stick? So that's actually a very interesting question because I've been playing quite a lot with this over the last few weeks right here in my own studio. All of our Axiom series products support Miracast, which is basically HDMI over wireless. So if you want to see the output of your Axiom on, say, a smart TV or another Miracast compatible device, we can actually go into the menus here and broadcast right from this screen over the air to a TV. It works with most smart TVs now support display mirroring. So it natively works. I've done it with Samsung. We've done it with LG. We've done it with even some of the super low cost, TCL, Vizio, no-name brand TVs that support screen mirroring. It seems to work with all of them. It also works with Roku TVs. So I don't see why it wouldn't work with a Roku box, but I don't know that that's one that we have tried. And I think it should work with Fire Stick as well, because Fire Stick is technically an Android device, and it generally plays pretty well with that. But I don't know if we've tried a Fire Stick. Let me write that down. And I'll look for your comment, and I'll try to get some more info on that. Let me show you a little tip when it comes to Miracast if you want to try it. Because a lot of people have tried this through the years, and sometimes they have trouble getting it to connect. And there's a secret to getting a nice, solid Miracast connection. If you can just bring the Axiom back up into the display, I'll show you where you set this up. I'm going to come out to my home screen. I'm going to go here to Settings. I'm going to go to this display, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and there's a Wi-Fi sharing section. Now, if you want to do Miracast, we recommend that you turn off Wi-Fi sharing. So what Wi-Fi sharing does is it opens up the Wi-Fi access point for things like the Raymarine app and the Navionics app to be able to connect. For Miracast, many devices are happier if Wi-Fi sharing is turned off because it gives the TV connection more bandwidth. So if you have trouble connecting, turn that off when you want to use Miracast. So now in this section right above it, you see I've got wireless display. Right now I am not connected. If I touch it, Axiom scans to see what is nearby, and you can actually see what's here in my studio. We have, this is actually a TCL 55-inch Roku TV that came from Walmart down the street, but we can stream to that. This is a slightly more expensive Samsung 4K TV that is across the hall from me. And then I have just a USB Miracast display adapter, a Microsoft branded one, in a non-smart TV, and I could actually stream to any of them. So if you find your TV on this menu, just click the button to connect to it. On the TV screen, you'll see the connection process over there. Some TVs might ask you to type in a PIN number. So Axiom does support that. You'll get a pop-up and you can type a PIN in to pair it. Other devices let you just go right on through and connect up without any further prompting. But it works very, very well. Just remember to turn off that Wi-Fi sharing if you're having any trouble getting a connection. I'll try to do maybe another episode of Raymarine Live down the road where we focus a little more on some of the multimedia capabilities in Axiom. And I'll come prepared for that. I'll have a TV in the background and we can run through the full process of this setup. What else have you got for me, Mr. Producer Man? I received an email from Raymarine with updates for my Axiom RV network, but cannot download on an empty 32 gigabyte micro SDHC chip. Why is that? Okay, so an empty 32 gig chip should be able to accept a software update. When you download updates off of Raymarine.com, they come packaged in what they call a zip, as a zip file. So basically, a zip is kind of a wrapper that we can put over a whole bunch of files, and it allows you to make one single download with a whole bunch of contents inside. So anything that you download off Raymarine.com generally is going to be in one of those zip wrappers, and you need to unwrap it before you put it onto your SD card. That's usually the problem when we see this. So if you take the file just as it came down off the internet and drag it over to the SD card, Axiom can't see what's inside the zip wrapper. So what you'll do on your computer, just double click it. It'll ask you where you want to unpack it. You can unpack the contents of the zip file to your micro SD card, then go ahead and plug it into Axiom, and it should be able to read it and install those updates for you. Hopefully that answers your question. If you're still having trouble with it, though, drop another comment in there or shoot me an email, james.mcgowan@raymarine.com, and we'll get support in touch with them. We'll get you squared away. Definitely want you to be able to get your updates. And from Stanley, I found out that Raymarine MFDs do not like a number of shocks brands. It just does not recognize the chip. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by shocks brands, but I think you're talking about micro SD cards. Talking about memory cards to use inside. This is probably again related to software updates. So most of the cards that come from either Raymarine or Navionics or CMAP or places like that, most of the time we go with SanDisk. They are kind of the leader in memory card. They work really well. I don't think I've ever seen a SanDisk card not work. Kingston cards, we've had no problems with. When you're choosing your SD card media, go for the name brand ones rather than the no name brand ones. They do tend to be more reliable, especially for the long haul. Depending on what you're doing with the card, sometimes it can be a formatting issue as well. The formatting of the card has to do with the file structure that it uses, and Axiom supports a pretty wide range of file structures, but there are sometimes some oddball ones out there that it might have some trouble reading. So you could pop it into a computer and reformat the card, and that might allow it to read it. But if you are having trouble with a card, my guess is 9 times out of 10, if it's related to software updates, that's what most people are doing when they're programming things onto cards. Again, drop us a line and we can try to work with you and figure out what's going on with it. But if you're shopping for cards that you want to use in your Axiom for things like photos and video storage and things like that, I do suggest sticking to the name brand cards. Also go with the high speed cards like the class 10, the SanDisk Ultras, that sort of stuff, just because they are faster cards. The data moves on and off the cards much, much quicker. If you have marine cameras, if you have a FLIR or something like that, Axiom can act as a DVR and record video off your camera system. So the high speed cards are better for that sort of thing too. And let's get one more question in. Can you show me the new? Oh yeah. Yep. How to change the UI from classic to new. Hey, Bill, how are you? Bill Platt is one of our pro ambassadors. He was actually up here at the office just a week ago or so. And it was great to see you and check in. That's an awesome looking helm in your photo there. Mr. Producer Man, if you could bring the Axiom up for me. So what Bill is asking about is how to change between classic UI icons, which is what we're looking at right now, and our new mode-based icons. So these are the classic icons. We've used these in our Lighthouse operating system for several years. We decided to make the icons a little bit more intuitive and a little bit more indicative of what you're going to get when you click into certain modes. For example, on the chart or the fish finder in particular, you have multiple modes of operation, different kinds of charts, different kinds of sonar. So rather than just having a generic chart icon or a generic sonar icon, we have new icons that are a little bit more detailed. So to change between modes, just touch on the home screen settings, and it's right here. So right now the home screen is in classic icon mode. I'm going to go to mode-based icons, and then I'm just going to close. And now you can see I have the new style icons in here. So they have a little bit more color pop to them. But what you'll notice is, for example, in the chart mode here, it actually tells me that this chart is going to be in navigation mode when I click through to it. This fish finder tab is going to be in 3D mode when I click through to it. This one has side vision and chirp sonar. You'll see mode-based icons for Sirius XM weather, Sirius XM fish mapping, the racing mode, the fishing modes. So it's just kind of a different way you can set up your system, get a little bit more detail kind of on the front end of it. And it kind of gives it a new look and feel, which I think a lot of people appreciate too. Great question, Bill. Thanks for asking it. Let's see. One last kind of spring get ready thing I wanted to show you. We always talk about software updates. Just a moment ago, we were talking about doing updates through a memory card. I do just like to remind everybody how you can update not only your Axiom, but the peripherals that are connected to it as well. So when you download updates from Raymarine.com, you often have the option of taking the software for just the Axiom display, or for a slightly larger download, you get Axiom plus all of the peripherals. And when I say peripherals, I mean things like your radar scanner, your autopilot controller, your VHF radios, AIS receivers, all those little behind the scenes pieces and parts all have software in them. We update all of them from time to time, and Axiom can keep them all up to date. So the easiest way to do an update is over Wi-Fi. You don't have to go to the internet. Axiom can kind of take care of that for you. Or you can do it the more traditional way where you download a card at home in advance with the software, bring it down to the boat and plug it in. I'm going to show you how to do the Wi-Fi update. So we can bring Axiom back up one more time. Here is our home screen that we were just looking at. Down here in the corner, go to settings. And the first thing I will point out on this tab called Getting Started, right here, it tells me what software version is installed in the system right now. So I have 4.4.70, and that is the very latest for Axiom. It also tells me what charts I have plugged in here too. I have a Navionics plugged in, and it was last updated on January 6th of 2023. So if I want to do a software update to Axiom, I just hit this button that says conveniently update software. I could check inside of a physical card plugged in, or I can go online. So I'm going to tell it to check online. And it's going to ask me to connect to the internet using Wi-Fi. So I am already connected to our building's guest network. But if I needed to change, to the marina Wi-Fi or to my home Wi-Fi that I can reach from the dock, this is the interface in which you would do that. So Axiom is scanning. It is looking for other Wi-Fi devices nearby that it can connect to. You would pick the appropriate network, type in your password, and Axiom will connect. I'm just going to back up because we are already connected to the network. And I hit the button that says Start. Now Axiom is reaching out to Raymarine's server. It is actually scanning the network on board the boat as well. It is looking at all of the hardware that I have connected to the system. And it has detected that I have an Axiom 216 and an Axiom Pro 12. And if you bear with me one moment, I'm going to cancel out of this I'm going to set it up one more time. And the reason is I still have the simulator turned on, so it's not seeing all of the real equipment I have here. So let me just turn my Axiom back into live information. I'm going to say settings, update the software, check online, start. Now it is scanning because I turned off the simulation. Now it sees all the real hardware I have in here. So you can see I got a considerably longer list of things. So there's the two Axiom screens. I have an Evolution ACU 100. There's an autopilot ACU. My I-70 instruments. I have an I-50 tri-data over my shoulder, a wind instrument. I have a CTOC converter. And notice all of these things are unchecked, and that means they're up to date. But right here on the top, I have an I-70S display, and Axiom pre-checked it with that green box. That means it is out of date. And if I want to see the details of what's wrong with it, in this case, it says the current version is 3.08. The new version available is 3.20, and the file size is 3.3 megabytes if I would like to update it. So Mr. Producer Man, can you go to a split screen that keeps Axiom up and maybe the studio up? Let's see if this will go. Maybe. Here, I'll bring this over here. That'll work. All right, so here's that I-70 display. I grabbed this one a little bit earlier from a box of stuff that had been hanging around, so I knew that this one was old. So I'm going to hit the button in Axiom that says update selected. Let me just split it out here. Maybe that'll give you a little better view. So I'm going to say update selected. So what it is actually doing now, you can see in the corner, it just pulled down that 3 megabyte update file for this I-70 instrument. And now it is installing it. You can see that the instrument itself has kind of gone into its update mode. Axiom is transferring the software across the network to it. This is going out over the CTOC NG network, which is the lower speed CAN bus network. So it takes a little bit longer to update stuff like this sometimes than other devices. So you can see in the corner there, it's estimating 8 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm not going to make you watch all 8 minutes and 45 seconds of this. I'd run out of things to say. But basically what's going to happen is in 8 minutes or a little bit less, this screen is just going to start back up right where it was when it began. You don't have to restore any settings. You don't have to, back up any data or anything with little instruments and peripherals. They just update and then go right back to work. So I'll leave this sitting here, and as we're kind of closing out the show, you may see it finish its update and restart. But if you have instruments, autopilot controllers, the Evolution EV1 core pack, the sensor core, if you have a VHF radio, if you have sonar modules, even sonar transducers now have processors with software inside of them. Axiom can take care of updating all of that stuff for you. So it is kind of a one-stop shop if you go right through that Wi-Fi connection on Axiom and let it take care of all the software. It should do it automatically. Looks like we might have time for one or two more questions at the end of the hour here. Let's pop a few more up. From Paul. Paul, I think you were the first one here too, so it's appropriate we get your question in. If I had a Raymarine chart plotter at my nav desk, can I install a new Raymarine Axiom at the helm and share the same transducer for both? Yes, assuming your chart plotters are both Axioms, so both Axiom series. The transducer connected to one is available through the network to both of them. That happens through the CTOC high-speed or Raynet high-speed Ethernet. So one or the other of them could have, for example, a fish finder in them or a depth sounder, and that transducer is fully visible and accessible from both units. Any of the sonar modes you can get to on one, you can get to from the other. For a more, say, sailboat or cruising boat application where maybe you're not fishing and you just have a navigational depth sounder, maybe you have something like an I-50 depth instrument or an I-70 instrument with a smart transducer. For those, the depth data travels over the CTOC NG or NEMA 2000 network and is available again on every device attached to the network. But with those types of transducers, you don't get a picture, you just get a number for what the depth is. But through the networking, transducers are shared. So hopefully that answers your question. And let's see if we can get one more in. I think we're right at the end of the hour. Let's do one more. From James, I'm having a problem on my Axiom units not showing the speed. What can I do? All right. This is a great question. I get this a lot. And let me explain just a little bit. In fact, if you could bring Axiom up for me one more time, I'm going to see if I can cancel it out of this update. Let me cancel. Nope. All right. Well, I'll describe it for you. I would show it to you, but I can't. I committed to updating this instrument. All right. On all Raymarine systems, there are two different measurements for speed. One of them is speed through the water, and the other is speed over ground, and they come from different sources. So to keep them straight on the system, we call them different things. So anytime you see the word speed, that is actually looking for a speed reading off of a paddle wheel or an ultrasonic transducer that is in contact with the water. Otherwise, the other speed value you'll see is SOG, speed over ground, and that comes off of your GPS sensor. So if you have a data item, a data box anywhere on the system, or even on an instrument, if it reads out speed and it's blank, it's looking for a paddle wheel transducer. And if you don't have one, there's no data to fill that in. The nice thing is on all of our instruments and on Axiom, all of those data fields are editable. So if by chance, like we pre-programmed speed into one of the data layouts, but you don't have the transducer to support it, just do a long press on it with your finger, select edit or customize, and you can actually get into the data library, and you could take speed away and drop SOG in place of it, and your GPS provides SOG. Pretty much everybody has that available. But just keep that in mind whenever you see speed on the system, it is looking for a paddle wheel source. If you don't have one, put SOG in there in place of it. All right, so we have gone a full hour, so I think that's where we're going to wrap it for tonight. Before I sign off, just again, would like to encourage you all to please subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook, please follow Raymarine on Facebook. Hit the button and share our content out with your friends and family and other boaters that you think might enjoy it. We will be back again with another episode, actually quite a bit sooner than our last interval. What you're going to see over the next couple of weeks, we're going to try a little experiment. I'm going to do some daytime Raymarine Live broadcasts. We're going to do them probably around lunch time, early afternoon, and they will be a bit shorter. So we're going to try to mix those in between the Thursday nights so that we can get more content out to you, get more of your questions answered, and let us know what you think about it. Drop me comments or shoot me an email, james.mcgowan@raymarine.com will get back to me. So with that, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon on Raymarine Live. Thank you for watching. Good night.